Galaxy Empire declares war. Humanity hardly cares. Wait a minute, I'm eating. The High Synod of Orion gathered in its vast hall. Walls shimmered with holographic star maps, displaying conquered systems in glowing blue. Delegates from distant worlds filled the tiered seats, their robes rustling softly. Tension hung in the air, thick like the scent of ozone from the displays. Ambassador Lucian Ward stepped to the podium, his voice echoing through the chamber. He spoke for 2 hours. Words flowed about the Aurelian Dominion's divine right, humanity's inferiority, and their encroachment on sacred territories near the Veil Nebula. They spread like weeds, he declared, choking our stars with their crude machines. His tone rose, painting pictures of ancient glories, lost battles reclaimed. The crowd leaned forward, eyes bright with fervor. Cheers erupted at the end. Fists pounded tables. They expected humanity to tremble before the Dominion's might, a fleet of 200 ships armed with plasma weaponry that could scorch planets. Whispers spread of a quick victory, spoils divided among the victors. Lucian stood tall, soaking in the approval. A chime interrupted. A transmission from Earth, Sol 3. The hall quieted as the message appeared on the central hologram. Thank you for submitting your application. We will process it within 3 to 5 working days. Nothing more. No threats, no pleas. Just that. Silence fell. Delegates exchanged glances. Eleanor Dreas, Synod Commissioner, rose from her seat. This must be a ploy, she said, her voice steady. Humans are known for their tricks. They stall for time. Lucian bristled. Arrogance fueled his response. Cowardice, plain and simple. He slammed a fist on the podium. They hide behind words while we act. Rally the fleet. War begins now. The hall roared again, doubts buried under the noise. Far across the stars on Grayhaven, things moved differently. The mining colony sprawled across a dusty world, rigs drilling deep for rare ores. Workers like Graham Whitaker wiped sweat from their brows, grumbling about delayed shipments from core worlds. Another holdup, Graham muttered to his crew. At this rate, we'll miss quotas. Alarms stay silent, no hint of the storm approaching. From the miner's view, life churned on. One joked about the chemical barrels stacked high. Touch those wrong and boom, fireworks for days. Laughter echoed in the tunnels. They focused on the grind, tools humming, oblivious to the fleet vectoring in. The Aurelian ships cut through space, led by Admiral Marcus Vale. Hulls glowed with energy shields, ominous against the black void. Bridge crews checked systems, weapons primed. Marcus paced his command deck, eyes on Grayhaven's scans. They won't know what hit them, he said to his officers. Confidence radiated from him. Lucian lingered in the hall after the session. Alone now, he stared at the faded transmission. A flicker of unease stirred. Why such a bland reply? It felt off, like a trap half seen. He pushed it down, smothered by pride. Humans are fools, he whispered to himself. The war would prove it. The fleet accelerated, closing the distance. On Grayhaven, shifts change. Graham assigned teams to new veins, barking orders over the comms. Keep those barrels secure. Last thing we need is a spill. His voice carried the weight of routine, no fear on it yet. Marcus issued final commands. Form up for assault. Weapons hot. His bridge hummed with activity, screens flashing trajectories. The colony grew larger in view, a speck turning into a target. Eleanor approached Lucian in the emptying hall. Are you certain about this push? She asked, her practical tone cutting through. That message, it doesn't sit right. He waved her off. Doubt weakens us. We've declared. Now we conquer. His words rang hollow in his own ears for a moment, but he straightened. The Synod's cheers still echoed in memory. Miners on Grayhaven paused for a break. One pointed to the sky. Stars look busy today. Another shrugged. Probably just traffic. They returned to work, tools clanging. The fleet entered orbit. Sensors locked on. Marcus smiled. Begin descent. Engines roared to life. Lucian turned from the hologram. Pride swelled again. Unease forgotten. The Dominion would triumph. Grayhaven's dust stirred under normal winds. Graham checked manifests. "Shipments better come soon," he said. Crew nodded, focused. Aurelian dropships are prepared to launch. Soldiers gripped rifles, ready. The hall stood empty now. Lucian's steps echoed as he left. War called. In the void, ships descended. Grayhaven waited unaware. The stage set. The Aurelian fleet sliced through Grayhaven's orbit, 200 ships casting shadows over the colony's surface. Admiral Marcus Vale stood on the bridge of his flagship, radiant ascendancy, his eyes fixed on the dusty world below. The colony's 12,000 inhabitants were no match for his armada, or so he thought. "Begin the assault," he ordered, voice sharp. Dropships detached, engines flaring as they plummeted toward the surface. On Grayhaven, the mining rigs roared on. Graham Whitaker, colony manager, stood in the control tower, scanning production reports. A klaxon blared, signaling incoming ships. He frowned. What now? Another supply delay? Workers grumbled, dusting off their coveralls. No panic, just irritation. Shifts were tight, and interruptions meant missed quotas. Graham barked over the comms. "Keep those rigs running. We're behind as it is." At a small Terran outpost on the colony's edge, Captain Mara Quinn and First Officer Evan Ross monitored the situation. Mara leaned back in her chair, sipping stale coffee. "Aurelians, huh? Talk about bad timing." Evan smirked, tapping the console. "Bet they're here to complain about our ore prices." Their banter masked the tension, but their hands stayed near the controls, ready. Aurelian troops hit the ground, boots kicking up clouds of dust. Their rifles hummed, energy cells primed. A worker waved them off, shouting, "Careful with those barrels. They're volatile." The soldier paused, confused, expecting screams, not safety tips. Commander Rowan Hale, leading the ground team, noted the calm. "Something's off," he muttered into his comm. Marcus Vale's voice crackled back. "Focus, Hale! Crush their spirit!" The flagship's cannon swiveled, locking onto the colony's core. "Fire!" Marcus commanded. The crew braced for impact. Instead, the cannons erupted in a shower of pink fireworks, sparkling across the sky. Gasps filled the bridge. "What in the void?" Marcus snapped. Another salvo launched, neon green streamers and confetti-like chaff. Soldiers below reported the same. Plasma rifles glowed harmlessly, projecting holographic butterflies. Rowan relayed the issue. "Admiral, our weapons, they're not firing right." Marcus slammed a console. "Sabotage! Find the traitor!" His crew scrambled, checking systems, but diagnostics showed no faults. The weapons were online, just festive. Down in the mines, a worker paused, shielding his eyes against the dazzling display. "They're throwing a festival up there?" His buddy laughed, wiping grime from his face. "Beats working overtime." They hauled another crate, mistaking the attack for a show. Graham in the tower squinted at the sky. "That's no supply ship," he muttered, but urgency hadn't hit yet. Mara and Evan watched the fireworks from their outpost. Mara snorted. "Guess they brought party poppers instead of guns." Evan grinned, tapping a scan. "Their ships are fully powered. Why the light show?" They coordinated evacuations anyway, guiding workers to shelters with practiced ease, their voices light but firm. Rowan pushed his squad forward, ignoring the glowing rifles. "Secure the rigs!" he shouted. A worker blocked his path, pointing at a stack of chemical barrels. "Move those and we're all ash." Rowan hesitated, sensing no fear in the man's eyes. He reported to Marcus again. "They're not fighting back. It's weird." Marcus growled. "They're mocking us. Press harder." Another volley from the fleet painted the sky with holographic flowers. Marcus's face reddened. "Reroute power. Override the systems." Technicians scrambled, but the AI interfaces flashed. Safe mode engaged. No explanation, no bypass. Marcus's confidence cracked. his mind racing for answers. In the mines, workers kept at it. One chuckled, nudging his friend. Told you those barrels were trouble. Bet they're scared of them too. The mood stayed light, the invasion more annoyance than threat. Graham radioed Mara's outpost. What's with the sky show? Mara's reply was dry. Aurelians are trying to redecorate. Stay sharp. Rowan's squad held position, their weapons useless. A soldier kicked a barrel in frustration, earning a glare from a worker. Told you, watch it! Rowan pulled him back, his gut screaming something bigger was at play. Marcus's voice roared through the comms. Advance, or I'll have you all court-martialed. The fleet loomed overhead, its lights now a mockery. Marcus stared at the screens, fists clenched. This isn't war, he hissed. This is a circus. His rage grew, but beneath it, a flicker of doubt. What had they missed? On Grayhaven, the rigs hummed. Workers carried on. The sky sparkled. The assault faltered, absurd and harmless. Aboard the Terran research vessel Insight Horizon, analyst Naomi Pike hunched over her console. The ship floated in neutral space, far from Grayhaven's chaos. Dim lights flickered on dusty archives, holographic files spilling across her screen. She scrolled through forgotten diplomatic records, her fingers dancing over keys. A ping caught her eye. The Galactic Treaty of 2145. What's this relic? She muttered, pulling it up. The document unfurled, clauses glowing in blue text. Signed by Aurelian envoys decades ago, during a forgotten summit. Naomi's eyes widened. The treaty turned war declarations into paperwork. Submit one with the right seal, and it opened a war complaint file. Weapons locked into safe mode, handed over to arbitration, like turning in keys at a courthouse. They signed this? Naomi whispered, tracing the signatures. She patched a secure line to Helen Carter, Terran ambassador on Earth. The hologram shimmered to life. Helen's face appeared calm amid stacks of reports. Naomi, what have you got? Naomi leaned in. That Aurelian declaration? It triggered an old treaty. Their weapons are neutered. Helen paused, then stifled a laugh. Bureaucratic genius. Who knew red tape could disarm a fleet? Naomi dove into the fine print. Weapons fell under a neutral AI arbiter, buried in a station near Sol 3. No overrides without mutual consent. Aurelian cannons, meant for destruction, now spat harmless props. Festive bursts, nothing more. It's all here, Naomi said. They walked right into it. On the Aurelian flagship, a technician stared at his panel. Safe mode activated. The interface blinked, red letters pulsing. He tapped frantically, systems unresponsive. Admiral, it's locked. No weapons control. Sweat beaded on his brow, tools clattering as he reran diagnostics. The crew around him muttered, confusion spreading like a virus. Marcus Vale paced the bridge, unaware of the treaty's grip. Launch the second wave, he barked. Dropships surged forward, cannons charging. But the skies over Grayhaven bloomed with holographic flowers, petals drifting harmlessly. Pink and gold swirls lit the dust clouds. Again? Marcus roared, slamming his console. The FF fleet might reduce to a light show. Rowan Hale, on the ground, watched the display. His squad huddled behind rocks, rifles glowing uselessly. This isn't sabotage, he said into his comm. It's systemic. Admiral, we need to check the core protocols. Marcus's voice crackled back, edged with fury. Handle it down there, Hale. I want answers. At the outpost, Mara Quinn and Evan Ross herded workers toward shelters. Move it, folks, Mara called, her tone light. Evan grinned beside her. Yeah, enjoy the pretty lights while they last. A worker chuckled, hauling gear. Aurelians sure know how to party. Mara glanced at the sky, flowers fading. Evan, patch me the scans. Something's holding them back. Word of Naomi's find rippled through Terran channels. Comms buzzed with quiet cheers. Pilots on patrol vessels smirked, morale spiking. Aurelians disarmed by their own ink, one said. Poetic. Forces on Grayhaven relaxed a notch, realizing the invaders posed no real threat. Graham Whitaker in the tower got the update. So that's why the fireworks, he grunted, directing crews to stand down. Naomi wrapped her report, sending it wide. The treaty's twist turned the tide without a shot. Helen nodded at the hologram. Good work. Keep digging if needed. The vessel hummed around Naomi, engines soft in the void. Marcus stared at the blooming skies, his bridge tense. Reports flooded in. Every weapon locked, every ship affected. This can't be random, he hissed, his arrogance frayed, a crack forming. What force twisted their arsenal? Doubt crept in, cold and sharp. Rowan urged his team back. Fall in. We're exposed here. Soldiers grumbled, eyeing the harmless glows. A technician on the flagship poked at code, but the AI arbiter held firm. Mara and Evan sealed the last shelter. Think they'll figure it out? Evan asked. Mara shrugged. Hope not. Makes our day easier. Laughter echoed faintly from workers inside. The fleet hung in orbit, flowers dissolving. Marcus clenched his jaw. Realization dawned slowly. Something fundamental broke. His pride buckled under the weight. Grayhaven's rig spun down for safety. Graham watched the skies clear. Back to work soon, he said. The absurdity lingered. A quiet victory. Helen filed the update, her office buzzing with other crises. The treaty worked its magic, unseen. Naomi powered down her console. The archive faded. Peace held for now. At the Galactic Edge, where stars thinned into void, the Terran fleet clashed with unseen horrors. 300 ships formed a blockade, hulls scarred from endless skirmishes. Interdimensional rifts pulsed like wounds in space, leaking alien energies that warped reality. Pilots and sleek fighters darted through the chaos, sealing breaches with precision beams. Commander Reyes gripped her controls, sweat beading under her helmet. Rift closing in Sector 5, she reported, voice steady. The fleet's priority was absolute. Hold the line, or the galaxy spilled into madness. This was Operation Breakwater, humanity's silent war. The Aurelian farce on Grayhaven barely registered, a blip in comm logs. Resources poured here, where true threats loomed. Engineers on capital ships monitored rift fluctuations, data streams flickering across screens. A rift widened suddenly, spewing tendrils of otherworldly matter. Ships converged, weapons humming with contained power. Fire containment fields, an officer ordered. The beams lanced out, knitting the tear shut. Helen Carter directed it all from Earth, her office in Sol 3's diplomatic hub, a nest of holograms. She juggled logistics, supply runs to the edge, personnel rotations. The Aurelian war complaint sat open on a side screen, treated like a minor form. Update on Grayhaven, she asked an aide. Fleet's retreating, ma'am. Treaty held. Helen nodded, filing it away. Her focus stayed on Breakwater, where lives hung on every decision. A Terran pilot banked hard, evading a rift's grasp, his face twisted in concentration, cockpit alarms blaring. Alien energy crackled against his shields, draining power. Sealing now, he grunted, deploying a probe. The rift shuddered, then collapsed. Relief washed over him, brief and grim. Back on the carrier, medics waited for the wounded, their expressions etched with fatigue. This fight drained souls far from parades or glory. Grayhaven's surface settled. Graham Whitaker rallied workers, pointing at chemical stockpiles. Secure those barrels tight. No spills on my watch. Crews moved with purpose, patching minor damage from the landing. Dust clouds lingered, but routines kicked in. Graham wiped his brow, glancing at the emptying skies. What a waste of time, he muttered. The larger stakes escaped him, his world bound to ore, quotas, and shift logs. Mara Quinn and Evan Ross huddled in their outpost, intercepting Aurelian signals. Evan patched a feed, Vale's voice booming through static. This humiliation ends now, Mara smirked. Poor guys yelling about flower cannons. Evan chuckled, adjusting the gain. Bet he's red as a supernova. They shared a look, their humor a shield against the absurdity. Mara radioed Graham. All clear down there? His gruff reply, yeah, back to digging. Naomi Pike, still on the inside horizon, probed further. She confirmed the AI arbiter's location, a fortified station orbiting Sol 3, impartial and unyielding. No hacks possible, she noted in her log. Data flowed, cross-referencing treaty clauses with current events. Her screen glowed with confirmations, the trap's elegance shining through. In the High Synod on Orion, Lucian Ward paced the hall. Reports trickled in. Failed assault, weapons turned toys. His face paled. How? He demanded. Aides shuffled, no answers ready. Eleanor Dreas stepped forward, her voice practical. We must reconsider. This embarrassment spreads. Lucian shot her a glare, but his confidence wavered, cracks showing in his posture. The Synod murmured, debates heating. Eleanor pressed. Pride won't fix this. Sue for terms before we lose more face. Lucian halted, staring at star maps. The fleet's retreat loomed, a stain on their legacy. Mara Quinn leaned against a console, the outpost quiet now. Evan busied himself with repairs. She gazed at the horizon, thoughts drifting to the edge. Humanity's burden weighed heavily, cosmic threats devouring attention, while petty wars got brushed aside like forms. We fight the real monsters, she said softly. Evan nodded, understanding unspoken. The galaxy spun on, oblivious. Rifts flared at the edge. Ships held firm. Helen approved another supply convoy, her eyes on the big picture. Grayhaven faded from her mind, just another file closed. Naomi archived her findings. The vessel drifted, mission complete. Lucian slumped in his seat. Eleanor's words echoed. War's thrill soured. Workers at Grayhaven laughed off the day. Graham tallied output. Life resumed. The fleet at the edge sealed another breach. Unrelenting. Humanity's true focus, hidden in the stars. Marcus Vale stood frozen on the bridge, the holographic flowers fading from the view screens. His fleet hung in Grayhaven's orbit, a shadow of its former threat. Humiliation burned in his chest. Retreat, he spat, the word tasting like ash. Officers exchanged glances, then scrambled to comply. Engines whined as ships peeled away, limping back toward Aurelian space. Weapons stayed locked, glowing mocks of their power. Marcus watched the colony shrink, his jaw set. Rowan Hale's voice crackled over the comm from the surface. Admiral, it's the treaty. Galactic 2145. Our declaration triggered it. Weapons in safe mode, no way around. Marcus's eyes narrowed. He slammed a panel. Bureaucratic sabotage. They tricked us with ink and seals. Rage boiled over, his voice echoing. Rowan stayed calm. We signed it long ago. It's binding. Marcus cut the line, pacing. The fleet's retreat accelerated, dust trails marking their shame. In the High Synod on Orion, debates raged. Holograms flickered with reports from Grayhaven. Fireworks instead of fire. Soldiers standing idle. Delegates shouted, fists waving. Eleanor Dreas rose amid the chaos, her voice cutting through. This farce ends now. Sue for peace or watch our empire become a joke. Murmurs spread, some nodding, others defiant. We've lost nothing yet, one argued. Eleanor leaned forward. We've lost face. That's worse. Lucian Ward sat at his desk, the chamber's opulence mocking him. He swallowed hard, pride a lump in his throat. Fingers hovered over the console, then typed the peace request. His hands trembled, fury suppressed like a coiled spring. Terms for cessation, he murmured, attaching the seal. It felt like surrender, not strategy. He sent it, leaning back, eyes closed against the sting. Grayhaven's surface buzzed back to life. Workers emerged from shelters, dusting off tools. Graham Whitaker clapped his hands. Shifts resume, folks. Let's make up time. Laughter rippled through the crews. That fireworks show sure scared 'em off, one said, hauling a barrel. Another grinned. Yeah, next time bring real guns. Rigs hummed to life, drills biting into rock. The invasion faded to a story, told over breaks. Helen Carter's office on Earth hummed with activity. A chime announced the incoming request. She pulled it up, scanning the text. Peace terms, she said to her aide. Routine as ever. Her reply was swift. Acknowledgement, with a form attached. Just sign here and we'll close the file. She hit send, then turned back to breakwater logs. No fanfare, just procedure. An Aurelian soldier sat in his drop ship, retreating with the fleet. He stared at his rifle, its barrel glowing faintly, useless. Disillusionment etched his face. What was this? He whispered to himself. Around him, comrades muttered, morale cracked. The weapon felt heavy, a symbol of failure. He set it down, gazing out at the stars. Pride shattered, questions brewing. Naomi Pike stood before Terran Command holograms, her vessel docked at a relay station. The treaty turned their war into a farce, she said, gesturing at data streams. Officers nodded, smiles creeping. Weapons locked by their own signature. Brilliant. She highlighted clauses, emphasizing the AI arbiter's role. No shots fired, no losses. Command absorbed it, plans shifting to reinforce the edge. At the Galactic Edge, the Terran fleet pressed on. Rifts flared, ships weaving through energy storms. Pilots sealed breaches, unaware of the Aurelian fold. Another one down, a commander reported, voice weary. Supplies ran low, but resolve held. The grueling fight continued, cosmic threats unrelenting. Grayhaven's drama didn't touch them, just another distant echo. Marcus Vale retreated to his quarters. The flagship's hum a dull roar. He sank into a chair, staring at the void. His grand campaign, undone by paperwork. Bitter acknowledgement settled in. Not blades, but forms, he thought. Arrogance yielded to reflection. The retreat a lesson etched deep. The fleet slipped into hyperspace, leaving Grayhaven behind. Eleanor paced the Synod floor, pushing her case. Peace now, reforms later. Delegates shifted, agreement building slowly. Lucian received Helen's reply, stylus in hand. He hesitated, then signed. Fury simmered, but necessity won. Workers on Grayhaven hit quotas, jokes fading into routine. Graham tallied one, satisfied. Helen filed the exchange, her mind on rifts. The file closed with a beep. The soldier powered down his rifle, thoughts turning homeward. Doubt lingered. Naomi wrapped up her briefing, data archived. Command dispersed, focused outward. Rifts pulsed at the edge. Ships fired, holding the line. Marcus exhaled, the weight pressing. Paperwork sting, sharper than any blade. The stars blurred past. Lucian Ward stepped off the shuttle onto Earth's diplomatic hub. Sol 3's skyline a muted gray through the viewport. His boots echoed on the polished floor, each step heavy with the weight of defeat. The conference room waited, stark and unadorned, a single table at its center. No banners, no grandeur, just a digital tablet glowing with the peace treaty. Helen Carter stood by it, her smile polite, almost clerical. Ambassador Ward, welcome, she said, gesturing to a chair. Lucian's jaw tightened, the contrast to Orion's opulent halls biting deep. He sat, eyes scanning the room. Bare walls, a few aides tapping consoles. No ceremony for his empire's surrender. Helen slid the tablet across. Sign here to close the war complaint, she said, voice calm as if handing over a shipping manifest. Lucian gripped the stylus, its weight mocking his pride. This formality, he began, voice low. Helen tilted her head. Just paperwork. We'll handle the rest. Her tone carried no malice, only efficiency. The hologram flickered to life. Eleanor Dreas's face appearing from Orion. Sign it, Lucian. she urged, her practical edge cutting through static. Resist, and we're laughed at across the galaxy. Her eyes held no room for debate. Lucian's fingers hovered, hesitation a storm in his chest. The Dominion's war, its divine fury, reduced to this, a bureaucratic checkbox. He exhaled, pride crumbling, and pressed the stylus to the screen. Across space, Marcus Vale watched the feed from a neutral station's dock. His flagship idled, its crew silent. His jaw clenched as Lucian's signature glowed, finalizing the retreat. "Undone by forms," he muttered, hands curling into fists. The bridge crew avoided his gaze, the sting of failure shared. Weapons now unlocked by the treaty's end hummed uselessly. Too late. The war was over, a spectacle of flowers and shame. Terran aides in the room exchanged glances, stifling chuckles. One leaned to another, whispering, "They thought they'd storm in. Got a light show instead." Their amusement was quiet, professional, but it grated on Lucian. He caught their eyes, his glare sharp but impotent. Helen ignored it, tapping her console to file the treaty. "All set," she said, almost cheerful. "Oh, by the way, we're tied up with Operation Breakwater. Bigger fish out there." She didn't elaborate, leaving the words to hang. Lucian's mind raced. Breakwater? The Galactic Edge? Humanity's casual dismissal burned worse than defeat. He stood, shoulders stiff, and nodded curtly. "This is done." Helen's smile didn't waver. "Safe travels, Ambassador." The door hissed open, and he walked out, the weight of outmaneuvered pride dragging his steps. On Grayhaven, workers barely noticed the war's end. Graham Whitaker shouted orders, rigs roaring back to full speed. "Quotas don't wait," he growled, checking outputs. A worker grinned, hauling ore. "Guess the fireworks guys gave up." Laughter rippled, the invasion already a punchline. Mara Quinn and Evan Ross, at their outpost, monitored departing ships. "Back to normal," Evan said. Mara nodded, sipping coffee. "Till the next clown show." Naomi Pike aboard the Insight Horizon finalized her report. The treaty's trap was a masterstroke, she noted, its elegance in turning might into mockery. She sent it to command, then leaned back, the vessel's hum soothing. The galaxy spun on, unaware of the quiet victory. At the edge, Terran ships battled on. Rifts pulsed, energies clawing at reality. Pilots sealed another breach, faces etched with strain. Breakwater's grind continued, the Aurelian farce a distant echo. A commander radioed in, voice hoarse. "Sector 6 stable. Next?" No pause, no celebration, just duty. Marcus docked his flagship, staring at the feed's final frame. Lucian's signature, his campaign, his fire, snuffed by rules. He turned from the screen, the station's cold walls closing in. Eleanor's hologram faded, her voice lingering in Lucian's mind. "Reform or rot," she'd warned. He boarded his shuttle, the treaty's weight heavier than any weapon. Helen fouled the form, her desk cluttered with breakwater updates. She glanced at a rift report, her calm unbroken. The galaxy's edge called louder than any war. Grayhaven's drills sang, dust rising. Workers moved on, stories of flowers fading. The edge's ships fired, rifts shuddering. Humanity's focus held, unyielding. Lucian's shuttle lifted off, Earth shrinking below. The Dominion's pride lay in tatters, outsmarted by quiet cunning. The stars stretched ahead, indifferent. The Aurelian fleet limped back to Orion, their hulls dim against the stars' cold gleam. Soldiers whispered in cramped barracks, tales of festival cannons spreading like sparks in dry grass. Mockery cut deeper than any blade. Marcus Vale stood alone in his quarters aboard the flagship, staring at a blank screen where his rallying speeches once blazed. Those words, once fire, now crumbled to ash. He sank into a chair, the weight of failure pressing like a vice. His crew avoided his gaze, their morale shattered, pride in tatters. In the high synod's shimmering hall, Lucian Ward faced a storm of accusations. Delegates' voices sliced through the air, sharp as plasma. "You led us to humiliation," one roared, fist pounding. Lucian stood rigid, his defense thin. The treaty was ancient, overlooked by all. The words rang hollow even to him. In his chambers later, he replayed Helen's casual dismissal, an administrative error she'd called his war. Failure gnawed, a quiet beast in the dark. Eleanor Dreas sees the chaos, her voice a steady beacon. "We reform or we rot," she told the Synod, eyes scanning the restless crowd. "Galactic laws bind us now. Ignore them, and we're fools again." Some nodded, others scoffed, but her words took root. New protocols emerged, cautious of unseen traps. The Dominion's arrogance, once unshakable, cracked like thin ice. On Grayhaven, life churned forward under dusty skies. Graham Whitaker strode through the mining rigs, his voice booming over the hum of drills. "Patch those conduits! We're behind!" Dust clung to his boots, the invasion's minor scars a nagging delay. Workers grumbled, hauling ore under flickering lights. "Fireworks didn't break anything," one said, wiping sweat. "Just our schedule." Yeah, Graham snorted, checking tallies. The colony's output climbed, the war fading to a half-told joke. At the outpost, Mara Quinn and Evan Ross shared a drink with workers, crates serving as makeshift tables. "To the war that wasn't," Mara toasted, her grin sharp and sly. Glasses clinked, laughter erupting like a burst of steam. Evan leaned back, mimicking Vale's rage. "My cannons shot flowers." The room roared, the absurdity a shared victory. Mara's eyes sparkled, but her thoughts drifted to the Galactic Edge, where humanity's true fight raged, unseen and uncelebrated. Naomi Pike sat in the Insight Horizons archive bay, her fingers gliding over the console as she archived the treaty incident. "A signature disarmed an empire," she typed, a faint smile curving her lips. The report reached Terran analysts, earning quiet nods of respect. No fanfare, just the weight of a clever play. She powered down, the vessel's soft hum wrapping her in calm, its mission complete. Far beyond, at the Galactic Edge, the Terran fleet pressed through a maelstrom of rifts, where alien energies twisted reality's seams. A carrier launched drones, their beams stitching shut a breach, pulsing with otherworldly light. "Sector 7 clear," a pilot reported, her voice hoarse from strain. Sweat streaked her face, her cockpit aglow with warnings. Medics stood ready, supplies stretched thin, as the fleet's resolve held against a relentless, cosmic threat. Helen Carter sat in her Earth office, filing the peace treaty with a tap. Her desk buzzed with breakwater updates, rift patterns, fleet rotations. The Aurelian file closed, a minor task in her day. She sipped coffee, eyes scanning a new report. Her calm masked the weight of command, each decision a thread in the galaxy's survival. Grayhaven's farce slipped from her mind, buried under cosmic stakes. A young Aurelian pilot, docked at a neutral station, stared at his console, the war's failure a weight on his chest. "We thought we were gods," he murmured, replaying the flower-filled skies. His squad mates nodded, their faith in the Dominion's might shaken. The lesson lingered, carved in light shows and lost pride. On Grayhaven, workers bantered through their shifts, rigs roaring as dust swirled underfoot. Graham stood atop a platform, tallying ore with a nod of satisfaction, the colony's rhythm restored. Mara and Evan cleaned their outpost, trading quips about future paperwork wars, their laughter soft against the hum of machinery. Naomi's report spread quietly among analysts, a blueprint for cunning tucked into archives. At the edge, pilots sealed another rift, their focus unbroken, unaware of the diplomatic win. Helen juggled her duties, the galaxy's fate balanced on her steady hands. Eleanor's voice rose in the Synod, pushing reform, while Lucian sat alone, haunted by his signature's shadow. Marcus faced a tribunal, his rage cooled to somber reflection. The galaxy spun on, indifferent, its strength not in ships, but in cunning, resilience, in rules sharpened like unseen blades. The High Synod of Orion convened under a quieter hum, its holographic star maps dimmed. Delegates moved with purpose, drafting new diplomatic codes. The sting of Grayhaven lingered, a lesson in hubris. Protocols now demanded scrutiny of every treaty, every clause. No more oversights, no more fireworks. The chamber's opulence felt less like glory, more like a reminder of what they'd nearly lost. A junior aide tapped at a console, logging revisions. "We'll be sharper next time," he murmured. Nods rippled through the room. Lucian Ward retreated to his private quarters, the door hissing shut behind him. He sat at a bare desk, the weight of his failure heavy as stone. The war he'd championed, reduced to a clerical error, haunted his thoughts. Yet in the silence, a spark of resolve flickered. He opened a file on galactic law, eyes narrowing. "Never again," he whispered. His pride lay shattered, but learning might rebuild him. Marcus Vale faced a tribunal's judgment, his rank stripped in a sterile chamber. The fire of his speeches was gone, replaced by a somber gaze. He stood straight, accepting the demotion with a nod. Reflection crept in, slow and sharp. The galaxy wasn't tamed by bluster or cannons. It demanded cunning. He stepped into the corridor, his steps lighter, as if shedding arrogance with each stride. Rowan Hale, newly promoted, addressed a small command staff. His field instincts had earned him a seat at the table. "Study the humans," he urged, voice steady. "Their tactics, their rules. That's real power." Officers leaned in, taking notes. Rowan's eyes gleamed with purpose, the memory of useless rifles fueling his drive. The Dominion could evolve, or it would crumble. Naomi Pike's report circulated among Terran analysts, its quiet brilliance spreading. She stood on the Inside Horizon's observation deck, stars stretching beyond the viewport. Her work, archiving the treaty's triumph, earned nods in command circles. "Rules as weapons," she mused, her breath fogging the glass. "No medals, no parades, just the satisfaction of a job well done." The vessel hummed, drifting toward its next mission. Grayhaven's rigs roared at full tilt, dust clouds swirling under harsh lights. Workers hauled ore, their banter unbroken. Graham Whitaker checked his tallies, a rare grin cracking his face. "Quotas met," he called, voice carrying over the drills. The invasion was a story now, told with chuckles over mess hall meals. "Fireworks war?" a worker snorted, stacking crates. The colony thrived, its people unaware of their role in a galactic chess move. Mara Quinn and Evan Ross sat in their outpost, cleaning consoles in the fading light. Mara swirled her coffee, smirking. "Think the Aurelians will try another paperwork war?" Evan laughed, wiping down a screen. "Hope so. I could use another light show." Their ease masked a deeper truth. Humanity's strength lay in the shrugging off petty fights while guarding the galaxy's edge. They shared a quiet glance, the weight of that duty unspoken. Helen Carter oversaw breakwater from her Earth office, holograms flickering with rift data. Her calm held firm, a steel thread through chaos. She approved a supply run to the edge, her fingers steady on the console. The Aurelian file was long closed, a footnote in her day. Her eyes flicked to a new report, another rift spiking. She exhaled, the galaxy's survival resting on her quiet resolve. At the Galactic Edge, Terran ships glowed against the void, their beams lancing into pulsing rifts. Pilots wove through energy storms, faces etched with focus. "Breach sealed," a commander reported, her voice raw. Drones hummed, stitching reality's tears. The fleet endured, unaware of Grayhaven's farce or the treaty's win. Their fight was the galaxy's shield, relentless and unseen. The stars stretched on, indifferent to empires or errors. Humanity's ships held the line, their light a quiet defiance. On Orion, reforms took root, lessons carved in shame. Lucian studied, Marcus reflected, Rowan planned. Grayhaven's drills sang, Naomi's work endured, and Mara and Evan laughed. Helen carried the weight, her calm a beacon. The galaxy spun, its fragile balance guarded by those who wielded rules like blades, their cunning and resilience sharper than any fleet. Strength wasn't in ships. It was in the quiet, enduring will to outsmart, outlast, and protect.